At 3:11 a.m., the emergency phone inside room 407 called the front desk. The problem was, room 407 no longer existed. It had been sealed behind a concrete wall 23 years earlier. The receptionist who answered thought it was a prank, until she heard a terrified man whisper, "Please don't let them open the door." Then the line went dead. When security checked the hotel's records, they found something even stranger. The caller had identified himself as Daniel Mercer, a guest who had disappeared from room 407 in 2003. And according to police records, Daniel Mercer was never found. My name is Ethan Graves. I was not supposed to become involved. At the time, I worked as an investigative journalist, specializing in missing persons cases. Most of my stories ended with disappointing explanations. Runaways, fraud, bad police work, human error. Nothing supernatural, nothing impossible. But 3 days after that phone call, I received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a room key, brass, heavy, old-fashioned, stamped with a number, 407. Attached to it was a note, only 6 words. He never checked out. I wish I had thrown it away. Instead, I booked a room. The Marlowe Hotel stood on the edge of downtown Portland, Oregon, squeezed between a glass office tower and a parking garage that always smelled like rainwater and gasoline. From the outside, it looked elegant in the way old hotels pretend to be elegant. Red brick, black awnings, brass doors polished by men who never looked guests in the eye. The lobby was warm when I entered. Too warm for October. A fire burned in a marble fireplace, even though the weather outside was mild. The air smelled faintly of lavender, furniture polish, and old carpet. Behind the front desk stood a young woman with tired eyes and a name tag that read Mara. She smiled with professional politeness until I gave her my name. Then the smile cracked. "Ethan Graves?" she asked. "That's me." She looked toward the office behind the desk. "You're the journalist." "I prefer writer. It sounds less annoying." She did not laugh. A man emerged from the back office. Late 50s, silver hair, perfect suit, the sort of man who practiced looking calm in mirrors. His name tag read Mr. Hollis. "Mr. Graves," he said, extending a hand. "We were not expecting you until tomorrow." I changed my reservation. Of course. His handshake was dry and cold. He already knew why I was there. Hotels are good at hiding things. They hide affairs, overdoses, fights, loneliness, last phone calls, and the quiet kind of despair that makes people stare out high windows for too long. The Marlowe had hidden something bigger than all of that. I placed the brass key on the counter. Mara inhaled sharply. Mr. Hollis did not look at it. "Where did you get that?" he asked. "It was mailed to me." "By whom?" "If I knew that, I probably wouldn't be here." He finally looked down at the key. The number 407 caught the lobby light. For 1 second, the fire behind me popped loudly, and everyone in the lobby turned as if something had spoken. Mr. Hollis lowered his voice. "That key is not hotel property. It says otherwise." Room 407 was removed from our numbering system in 2003. Removed is an interesting word. His jaw tightened. A bellhop crossed the lobby, pushing a luggage cart. The wheels squeaked. As he passed us, the brass key slid by itself an inch across the counter toward Mr. Hollis. Mara stepped back. I pretended not to notice. Can I see the fourth floor? I asked. Mr. Hollis smiled in a way that did not reach his eyes. There is nothing to see. Then it won't take long. He studied me for a moment. Then he said, Mara, please give Mr. Graves room 512. Mara hesitated. Sir, room 512. She handed me a modern plastic key card, not brass. Mr. Hollis leaned closer. The Marlowe is an old building. Old buildings collect stories. Some are unpleasant. Some are exaggerated. I hope you will be careful not to confuse grief with evidence. I try not to confuse locked walls with coincidences either. His expression cooled. Enjoy your stay. Room 512 was directly above the place where room 407 used to be. I knew because I had studied the old floor plans before arriving. The current fourth floor map skipped from 405 to 409. Guests probably never noticed. Hotels skip numbers all the time. 13, sometimes 4. Sometimes entire sections after renovations. But the 1978 floor plan showed a different layout. Room 407 had existed at the end of a short side corridor near the east stairwell. In 2003, after Daniel Mercer vanished, that section of wall had been sealed. The hotel claimed the change was due to structural instability. The police report used stranger language. Unrecoverable interior space. That phrase stayed with me. Unrecoverable. Like the room had not been renovated. Like it had been lost. I set up my recorder on the desk in 512 and began documenting. October 17th, 9:42 p.m. arrival at Marlowe Hotel. Staff visibly uncomfortable with subject. Original key appears authentic. Fourth floor access pending. I stopped the recording. The room was quiet except for the low hum of the heating system. Then the phone rang. The black hotel phone beside the bed. I stared at it. No one had my room number. It rang again. I picked up. Hello. Static. Then a man's voice, faint and breathless. You came. I did not speak. The voice trembled. Please tell me you brought the key. My skin tightened. Daniel Mercer? A wet sound came through the line, like someone swallowing blood. Don't say my name too loud. I turned on my recorder and held it near the receiver. Where are you? A pause. Then, still inside. The line clicked dead. I called the front desk. Mara answered. Front desk. This is Ethan Graves in 512. Did you just connect a call to my room? Silence. Then Mara said very softly, no. Can hotel phones call room to room from sealed sections? Mr. Graves. Yes or no? No? Her breathing changed. Then she whispered, if he calls again, don't ask where he is. Why? Because he might answer. Before I could respond, the line went dead. At 10:30 p.m., I left my room and took the elevator down to the fourth floor. The doors opened to an empty corridor covered in dark green wallpaper. Brass sconces cast warm pools of light along the walls. The carpet was red, patterned with black vines. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Rooms 401, 403, and 405 were on the left. On the right were 402, 404, and 406. Then the hallway ended in a wall. A framed landscape painting hung where the side corridor should have been. A lake at dusk, black trees, a small boat without anyone inside. I checked both directions. No cameras visible. I stepped close to the painting and touched the wall around it. Solid, but colder than the rest. I pressed my ear against it. At first, nothing. Then, from somewhere beyond the wall, a phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. I stepped back. The ringing stopped. A whisper came through the wall. Ethan, not Daniel's voice. A woman's, older, soft, almost motherly. Ethan, you shouldn't have come. I moved away from the wall. The elevator behind me dinged. Mara stepped out, holding a stack of towels she clearly did not need. Her face went pale when she saw me by the painting. You can't be here, she said. I'm a guest. Not this part. Then tell me why. She looked toward the wall. The sconces flickered. Mara lowered her voice. My aunt worked here in 2003. She was on shift the night Daniel Mercer disappeared. What did she see? She didn't see anything. That's the point. She heard him. From inside the room, Mara nodded. After he disappeared? After the police left. After they searched the room. After they found nothing. Around 3 in the morning, the phone in room 407 started ringing the desk again and again. My aunt answered. Daniel was screaming. He kept saying people were knocking on the wrong side of the door. I looked at the painting. What people? Mara shook her head. I don't know. She quit that morning. 2 weeks later, she killed herself. I'm sorry. She left a note. Mara's eyes were wet now. It said, the room doesn't keep bodies, it keeps exits. The words moved through me slowly. What does that mean? Before Mara could answer, a door opened behind us. Mr. Hollis stood in the hallway. Mara, he said. She flinched. He looked at me. Mr. Graves, this floor is occupied. Please don't disturb other guests. There are no other guests in this hallway. Good night. Mara walked past him without looking up. As she passed me, she slipped something into my hand. A folded piece of paper. I waited until I was back in my room to open it. It was a photocopy of an old hotel incident report. Date: April 9th, 2003, room 407. Guest: Daniel Mercer. Issue: repeated complaints of noise. The report listed 6 calls from Daniel to the front desk between 1:02 a.m. and 2:58 a.m. 1:02 a.m. Guest reports knocking from adjacent room. No adjacent room exists. 1:37 a.m. Guest reports voices in walls. 2:04 a.m. Guest requests new room. Request denied due to no vacancy. 2:19 a.m. Guest states closet door is not opening into closet. 2:44 a.m. Guest reports seeing hotel hallway through bathroom mirror, but hallway appears older. 2:58 a.m. Guest states someone is using his key from inside the room. The final line was handwritten. 3:11 a.m. Room 407 called front desk. No voice, only breathing. Call duration: 4 minutes, 7 seconds. I read it 3 times. Then my room phone rang again. I let it ring twice before answering. Daniel whispered immediately, "You have to open the wall." Why? Because it's learning your room. I looked toward my own closet. The door was open. I was certain I'd closed it. What does that mean? Daniel's voice shook. It starts with the phone, then the walls, then the mirror, then the door. The bathroom light flickered on by itself. I stood very still. Daniel spoke faster. Listen to me. At 3:11, don't be in your room. What happens at 3:11? The line crackled. A second voice joined the call. Deep, slow. Right beside Daniel. Room service. Daniel screamed. The phone went dead. For a while, I did not move. Then I packed my recorder, flashlight, camera, and the brass key. I left room 512 and went down to the lobby. Mara was gone. Mr. Hollis stood at the desk. He looked unsurprised. Checking out, he asked, looking around. At midnight? Best time for old buildings. His smile was thin. Curiosity is often mistaken for courage, and secrecy is often mistaken for professionalism. He leaned forward. Whatever you think is happening here, you are wrong. Then help me be right. For the first time, anger broke through his calm. You journalists arrive after the damage is done. You dig through other people's tragedies, looking for monsters because monsters are easier to sell than mistakes. What mistake did the hotel make? His mouth closed. There it was. The question had landed. Before he could answer, the elevator opened. No one came out, but the lobby lights flickered. The elevator display read 4, then 0, then 7. Mr. Hollis looked afraid. Not annoyed, afraid. From inside the empty elevator, the emergency phone rang. The sound was small and sharp. Mara appeared from the staff hallway, eyes wide. Don't answer it, she said. But Mr. Hollis was already walking toward it. His face had gone slack, like a sleepwalker. Mara grabbed his arm. Sir, don't. He shoved her away. I ran after him, but the elevator doors began closing. Inside, Mr. Hollis lifted the emergency phone. His eyes met mine through the narrowing gap. For 1 second, he looked completely human. Then he whispered, I'm sorry, Daniel. The doors shut. The elevator dropped. Not down floor by floor. It fell. The cable screamed. Mara and I stumbled back as the floor indicator spun wildly. 3, 2, 1. B. Then blank. A crash never came. Only silence. We forced the elevator doors open with a fire axe from behind the desk. The shaft was empty. No elevator car. No Mr. Hollis. Just darkness below. And from far beneath us, a phone began ringing. Mara covered her mouth. I looked down into the shaft. The ringing echoed upward. Then Mr. Hollis answered from somewhere far below. His voice floated up, thin and distant. Front desk. A pause. Then he began to scream. Mara backed away, crying. What is this place? I asked. She shook her head. I only know what my aunt wrote. You have more? Her diary. Where? Mara looked toward the ceiling. Room 408. Room 408 sat directly across from the sealed wall. Mara had been secretly using it for storage because management refused to rent rooms near the old section after midnight. She unlocked it with shaking hands. The room was dark and smelled of dust. Inside were boxes of old linens, broken lamps, outdated menus, and a plastic container labeled Hale Family. Mara's aunt had been named Patricia Hale. The diary was wrapped in a hotel towel. Mara gave it to me but would not sit down. If we read it, she said, it might notice. I think it already has. The diary began in January 2003, 3 months before Daniel disappeared. Most entries were ordinary. Complaints about work, notes about guests, family arguments, bills. Then in March, the tone changed. March 22nd. Guest in 407 complained that the room phone rang while unplugged. Maintenance found no issue. March 24th. Housekeeping says bathroom mirror in 407 reflects hallway even when door is closed. March 27th. I heard someone laughing in 407 after checkout. Room was empty. March 31st. Manager says not to assign 407 unless hotel is full. April 4th. I dreamed I was standing inside 407. There were too many doors. Every door had someone knocking from the other side. April 9th. Daniel Mercer checked in. Young man, polite, sad eyes, asked for quiet room. God forgive us. I turned the page. April 10th, he is gone. I do not know how to write this. Police searched the room. Closet empty. Bathroom empty. Windows locked from inside. No blood. No struggle. His luggage still there. Shoes beside bed. Room key on nightstand. But the phone keeps ringing. The next entry was longer. April 12th. The room called again at 3:11. Daniel said he found other guests. He said they were in the walls between rooms. He said the hotel was not built on land, but on a crossing. I asked what that meant. He cried and said a place where lost things can enter, but not leave. Mara whispered, I never got past this part. I continued reading. April 15th. There are records missing. Not just Daniel. Guests before him. 1958, 1966, 1974, 1989. Always. Room 407. Always complaints of knock-in phones mirrors. Always management says checkout error. April 17th. I looked at the original construction plans. There should be no room 407. The east side corridor was not in the architect's design. It appeared in the hotel after opening. I stopped. What does that mean, appeared? Mara shook her head. The lamp beside the bed clicked on. Neither of us touched it. The diary pages fluttered though the windows were closed. I kept reading. April 19th. The room is not haunted. Haunted means something dead remains. This is different. Room 407 is a mouth pretending to be a room. It opens where grief is strongest. It feeds on people who are trying to leave something behind. April 20th. Daniel was here because his wife died. He told me when he checked in. He said he needed one night away from the house because every room reminded him of her. April 21st. The room called again. Daniel said he saw his wife in the hallway. Not as a ghost. As a door. Mara began crying quietly. The final entry was dated April 23rd. It said, if the room calls, do not answer. If the mirror shows a door, cover it. If someone knocks from inside your closet, leave before the third knock. If you hear the front desk call your name, do not go downstairs. And if you find the brass key, never use it. Because the key does not open the room. It lets the room open you. The lamp went out. 3 knocks came from the closet. Mara gasped. 1, 2. I grabbed her arm before the third. We ran. Behind us, the closet door burst open. Not into darkness, into a hallway. An old hallway. Wallpaper yellowed with age, carpet faded, lights buzzing. At the far end stood a man in a grey suit, Daniel Mercer. He was pale, thin, and shaking. Wait, he called. Mara stopped. I did too, despite every instinct screaming not to. Daniel took one step toward us. Behind him, dozens of hands reached from doorways along the old hallway. Don't come in, he said, but don't let it close. What do you want? I asked. Daniel looked directly at the brass key in my hand. At 3:11, the room will open again. From both sides. You have to lock it from inside. Mara shook her head. That's impossible. Daniel smiled weakly. Yes, behind him, something moved at the end of the hall. Tall, bent, too close to the ceiling. Daniel looked back and went rigid. The thing behind him spoke in Mr. Hollis's voice. Front desk. Daniel shouted, "Run!" The closet slammed shut. We did not stop until we reached the lobby. The hotel had changed. The marble floor was cracked. The fire was out. Dust covered the furniture. The front doors were chained from the inside. The windows showed not the street outside, but a long corridor lined with numbered doors. Mara whispered no. The Marlowe was no longer pretending. Every phone in the lobby began to ring. The front desk phone, the office phone, the elevator emergency phone, phones in rooms above us. Dozens, hundreds, ringing through the walls. The clock over the desk read 3:07 a.m. I looked at Mara. We have 4 minutes. To do what? I held up the brass key. Find 407. The elevator was gone. So we took the stairs. The stairwell smelled of wet plaster and old smoke. Numbers painted on each landing had changed. 2, 3, 4, 4, 4. No matter how far we climbed, every door opened onto the 4th floor. Finally, at 3:10, we stepped into a version of the hallway that should not have existed. The sealed side corridor was open. Rooms lined both walls. 401, 403, 405, 407. The door waited at the end. Dark wood, brass numbers. A peephole like a blind eye. From inside came Daniel's voice. Please hurry. Mara grabbed my sleeve. This is wrong. I know. No, I mean, listen. I listened. Daniel was whispering inside the room. But so was someone else. A woman. Soft. Loving. Daniel come back to bed. His dead wife. The room was using her again. I inserted the brass key. The metal was warm. The lock turned by itself. The door opened inward. Room 407 looked ordinary at first. Bed neatly made. Suitcase by the wall. Lamp on. Phone beside the bed. Bathroom door closed. Window curtains drawn. Daniel stood in the center of the room. He had not aged much, but time had damaged him in other ways. His skin looked stretched too thin. His eyes were filled with years of not sleeping. A closet, he said. Mara stayed in the hall. I stepped inside. The door slammed behind me. Mara screamed my name from the other side. Daniel looked at me with pity. You shouldn't have done that. You told me to. No, he said. It told you with my voice. The room phone rang. Daniel flinched. I looked toward the door. There was no handle on this side. The room had opened me. The phone rang again. Daniel backed away from it. Don't answer. Then how do we get out? He laughed once. Broken and empty. We don't get out. We get replaced. The bathroom door creaked open. Inside was no bathroom. Only another hotel room. And inside that room was another. And another. Endless rooms nested inside each other like reflections. People stood in them. A woman in a wedding dress. A businessman with blood on his shirt. A child holding a teddy bear. An old man in pajamas. Guests from every decade. All staring at me. All silent. Daniel whispered, the room keeps exits. Every door someone wished they had taken. Every life they tried to leave. Every grief they wanted to escape. What does it want? He looked toward the phone. It wants someone to answer. Why? Because every time someone answers, it learns a new way out. The phone rang a third time. Daniel began crying. It used my wife for 23 years. Sometimes I know she isn't real. Sometimes I don't care. The lamp flickered. The bed changed. For a second, I saw my childhood bedroom. Then my mother's hospital room. Then my apartment after my divorce. Places I had wanted to leave. Places I had never truly left. The room was reading me. Daniel grabbed my shoulders. Listen, there is only one rule. It can't hold you if you stop looking for an exit. That makes no sense. It feeds on escape. On the desperate need to be anywhere but where you are. The phone stopped ringing. Silence filled room 407. Then the front desk called through the wall, "Ethan Graves, your room is ready." The door appeared in front of me. A perfect exit, not the hotel hallway. The street outside, rain falling, freedom. I took one step. Daniel shouted, "No!" Too late. The door opened. Beyond it stood my father, dead 15 years. He looked disappointed, as he always had. "You always run," he said. I froze. Daniel whispered, "It doesn't show you what you love. It shows you what still owns you." My father held out his hand. "Come on, let's leave before you fail again." The words hit harder than any ghost could, because they sounded exactly like him. Not his voice, his cruelty. I stepped back. No, his face twitched. The room groaned. I turned away from the door. Another exit appeared, my old apartment. My ex-wife standing in the kitchen. "Ethan," she said, crying, "please come home." I closed my eyes. No. Another door. My newsroom. My editor offering me the story that would make my career. Number. Another door. A warm house I had never owned. Children I had never had. Peace I did not believe in. Number. With every refusal, room 407 changed. The walls aged. Wallpaper peeled. The ceiling cracked. The guests in the nested rooms began whispering. Not my name. Their own, as if remembering. Daniel stared at me. "What are you doing?" "Staying." The floor tilted. The phone rang one final time. This time I picked it up. Daniel screamed, "Don't!" I held the receiver to my ear. A voice breathed on the line. Not human, not dead, not alive, just empty space trying to sound like someone. "Front desk." I said nothing. The voice waited, then it tried again. "Who am I speaking to?" I still said nothing. The room trembled. The thing needed a name. It needed recognition. It needed me to answer the way everyone eventually answered. I placed the receiver gently on the bed without hanging up. Then I sat beside it. Daniel stared. "What are you doing?" "Not leaving." The room shook violently. The false doors opened and closed. Voices begged. My father shouted. My ex-wife cried. Mr. Hollis apologized from the walls. Mara screamed from the hallway. I sat still. The phone whispered, "Say something." I did not. The guests in the other rooms began stepping forward, one by one. The woman in the wedding dress, the businessman, the child, the old man, dozens more. They did not run for the exits. They turned away from them. The nested rooms began collapsing inward, not violently, quietly, like a dream losing power. Daniel's wife appeared in the bathroom doorway. For the first time, Daniel looked at her without reaching. "I know," he whispered. "You're not her." She smiled with too many teeth, then vanished. Daniel fell to his knees. The door to room 407 returned. A real door, with a handle. Mara's voice came from the other side. "Ethan!" Daniel looked at me. "Go." "What about you?" He looked around the room. I checked in. The walls cracked open. Behind them was not brick, not wood. A vast dark space filled with doors. Millions of doors. All slightly open, all waiting. Daniel stood. "But maybe I don't have to stay checked in." He walked to the phone and lifted the receiver. The voice on the line hissed. Daniel smiled. Then he said clearly, "No one is here." The room screamed. Every door slammed at once. The force threw me backward through the entrance. Mara caught me in the hallway. Room 407 collapsed inward like paper burning without fire. Daniel stood in the doorway for one last moment. Behind him, the room became smaller and smaller. He looked tired, but free. Then he whispered, "Tell them I left." The door shut. The corridor vanished. Mara and I were standing on the normal fourth floor, in front of a blank wall. The painting of the lake hung there again, but the boat in the painting was no longer empty. A man sat inside it, rowing toward a pale sunrise. Police arrived at dawn after Mara called them. The elevator was back. Mr. Hollis was not. Security footage showed Mara and me standing in the fourth floor hallway for 6 minutes, staring at a wall. No missing corridor. No room 407. No Danielle. No proof, except the brass key. It had turned black. When I touched it, it crumbled into ash. The hotel closed 2 weeks later. Officially, it was due to structural violations discovered during an emergency inspection. Unofficially, staff refused to return after the phones began ringing every night at 3:11. The building was demolished the following spring. I watched from across the street as machinery tore through brick, plaster, and old secrets. When the east wall came down, workers found something behind it. Not a room, a hallway, narrow, windowless, filled with hotel doors. Every door was numbered 407. The workers quit before noon. The demolition company sealed the site and refused to comment. Mara left Portland. I wrote the story, but no major outlet would publish it. Too strange, too unverifiable, too much like fiction. Maybe that was for the best, because some places are not haunted by the dead. Some places are haunted by the lives people try to escape. And somewhere, in the quiet hours when hotels are sleeping and night clerks are alone with ringing phones, there are still rooms that should not exist. Rooms that learn your regrets. Rooms that show you every exit you ever wanted. Rooms that wait for you to answer. Years later, I received another envelope. No return address. Inside was a plastic hotel keycard. Modern, white, blank, no logo, no hotel name. Only one number printed in black. 407. Attached to it was a note. This time, the handwriting was Daniel Mercer's. 3 words. Don't check in. That night, at exactly 3:11 a.m., my apartment phone rang. I do not own an apartment phone. I stood in the dark, listening. 1 ring, 2, 3. Then a voice came from the kitchen. Mara's voice. Soft, terrified. Ethan, please pick up. I did not move. The ringing stopped. For a moment there was silence. Then someone knocked from inside my closet. Once, twice, and before the third knock came, I left.